I feel like if that's what you have to say, don't say anything. Just shut up. I mean, everybody who talks about Israel these days is just so full of shit. I mean, or just not, I don't want children to die. Duh, who does? None of us want children to die. None of us want this war to go on. But it's not addressing what the problem is.
So yesterday on our show, I misspoke. And I tweeted about it last night, but I kind of want you to hear it from me directly.
Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg are going at it again, and this time it's explosive. These two have a history hotter than a ghost pepper. And let's be real, making peace isn't even an option. The subtle jabs? At this point, they're basically an Olympic sport. So what did Whoopi say this time that landed her straight in Bill's roasting zone? And how did Maher fire back? We've got all the drama, the receipts, the takedowns, and the fallout. So grab your popcorn, because this one's gonna be good.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Bill Maher recently took another shot at Whoopi Goldberg, and at this point it's basically a tradition, like turkey on Thanksgiving or The View going off the rails before noon. This time, Maher called her out for spreading more questionable claims about people in power, because over there, fact-checking sometimes feels optional. Despite all the past backlash, Whoopi doesn't slow down. She just keeps charging ahead with one hot take after another. And now the drama's piling up fast. The latest, a wild rumor that Elon Musk hit her with an $80 million lawsuit. Yeah, Whoopi versus Musk sounds more like a pay-per-view showdown than real life. The lawsuit itself might not hold up, but the Hollywood-level chaos definitely does. Maher didn't waste a second jumping in, delivering another sharp takedown, while social media, especially Twitter, is already spiraling into full meltdown mode.
I feel like if that's what you have to say, don't say anything. Just shut up. I mean, everybody who talks about Israel these days is just so full of shit. I mean, or just not, I don't want children to die. Duh, who does? None of us want children to die. None of us want this war to go on. But it's not addressing what the problem is.
Yep, according to Bill Maher, at this point, Whoopi Goldberg might want to try a truly radical idea, saying a little less, at least until her legal team can catch its breath. Every time she speaks on The View, there's a real chance things drift pretty far from reality. It almost feels like she's competing in the Misinformation Olympics and somehow taking home gold. A lot of critics say her takes feel as outdated as dial-up internet, and honestly, staying quiet might be the smartest PR move left. At this pace, she's one controversy away from turning The View into a full-on deposition. Maybe it's time to step back, enjoy her legendary career, and avoid lighting it on fire one hot take at a time. The real twist? The View keeps letting it slide, which makes it seem like ratings matter more than accuracy. The network appears fine with the outrage machine as long as it keeps the clicks coming. But if this keeps up, she might not even need to worry about the show. She'll be busy on a full-blown apology tour, possibly headed for a courtroom near you. And just a few weeks ago, Maher was already going after Whoopi and her View co-hosts for what he called their non-stop push to cancel people.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Whoopi and her crew love to talk about tolerance, but only when it's convenient or benefits their own circle. The moment the so-called victim doesn't fit their narrative, that tolerance disappears fast. Suddenly, it's all about canceling public shaming and pushing that person out of the spotlight. It's almost ironic how their moral compass only seems to work when it points at people they agree with. If one of their own gets criticized, it's framed as an attack on free speech or even democracy itself. But if it's someone on the other side, then it's open season. Cancel first, ask questions later. The double standard is hard to miss. But as long as the narrative keeps rolling and the ratings stay strong, consistency doesn't seem to matter. At this point, they might as well rebrand the show as the Hypocrisy Hour. And let's not forget when Whoopi made that controversial claim suggesting only black people experienced police brutality. That didn't go unnoticed. Ben Shapiro quickly jumped in and tore apart the argument, calling it out as yet another poorly thought-out take.
Whoopi Goldberg, she of the genius, sort of sage presence on The View.
Thanks.
She's like, I'm not saying that maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen, but maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen.
But how many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything?
Okay, so first of all, this is unbelievably stupid.
Yep.
We've seen many, many cases of police brutality against white people. The Daniel Shaver killing of 2016, significantly worse than what we saw with Tyree Nichols. I mean, Tyree Nichols is really, really, really bad. Daniel Shaver is literally on the ground trying to comply with officers' orders and they just murder him. So this notion that white people have never been the victims of police violence is absolute bullcrap. It is not true in the slightest. For Whoopi, just a reminder. Whoopi Goldberg believes that everything in life is racist except Hitler.
The Holocaust isn't about race. It's not about race. What is it about?
Because she believes that when Hitler went after the Jews are white, so it was white on white crime.
Yep, that's the pattern critics keep pointing to. Everything gets framed through race. Like that's the only lens that matters. You see it with Sunny Hostin and the rest of the View panel too. No matter how complex the issue is, it often gets reduced down to skin color. At times, it feels less like a real conversation and more like a formula that keeps the outrage cycle going. Because, let's be honest, if every topic wasn't turned into a flashpoint, what would drive the headlines or viral clips? Nuance, personal responsibility, or balanced debate don't usually trend. And that's where the irony comes in. They speak about justice and equality, but critics argue the messaging can come off as divisive, keeping people frustrated and constantly tuned in. It almost makes you wonder if solving the issues would actually hurt the whole format. After all, outrage keeps the spotlight on. And that brings back the cupcake controversy. Remember when Whoopi got into it with a bakery over a delivery issue? What started as a small situation quickly turned into a bigger public moment. But in the end, it didn't exactly play out the way she expected.
Whoopi Goldberg has found herself in some hot water after accusing a Staten Island bakery of discriminating against her for her race, gender, and politics, I guess. But she's received instant karma because that Staten Island bakery is now speaking up and they're telling a different story.
The place that made these refused to make them for me. Can't be because I'm a woman, but perhaps they did not like my politics.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I'm so overwhelmed by the support between finding out yesterday this even happened and then people coming in, people from all over just supporting us in every way.
And just a little background for those who know, they had a boiler here. Again, it's been here 145 years. They had a boiler that was 60 or 70 years old. And the first week in November, guess what? It went on the fritz. They had to be replaced.
A much more logical explanation as to why they could not fulfill the order. Sometimes you call in and something's going wrong and they say, right now we can't take your order. And then you call back a little later and they're able to fulfill it, which seems to be exactly what happened with Whoopi Goldberg and which is why she had the cakes on the show in the first place.
Moments like this are why critics say Whoopi Goldberg sometimes walks straight into backlash, and this time it came in full force. What started as a cupcake issue quickly turned into something much bigger when a long-standing bakery was painted in a negative light. In her version of events, it wasn't just an inconvenience, it came across as something far more serious. But the internet didn't see it that way. People pushed back hard, suggesting the situation might have been far simpler. Maybe the bakery just didn't have the time, resources, or flexibility to meet the request. Not everything has to be a grand controversy. Some even joked about how far it all went, saying the bakery might as well issue a full apology tour, complete with a press conference and a written statement in icing. In the end, the whole situation seemed to flip. Instead of facing backlash, the bakery actually saw a surge in support, while Whoopi found herself dealing with criticism instead. It turned into one of those moments where trying to take control of the narrative doesn't quite go as planned, and the result is a slice of humble pie, just not the kind she was expecting.
I'm going to be a dictator. I'm going to take all the gay folks, I'm going to move you all around and disappear you. If that's the country you want, you know who to vote for. If that's not the country you want, you have to make a decision.
Or maybe the decision is between somebody who says wild and crazy things, but actually did the president think.
Like Bill Maher, Ben Shapiro has also taken aim at Whoopi Goldberg, often calling out what he sees as a growing pattern of contradictions in her commentary. Critics argue that she and others on The View focus heavily on portraying Donald Trump as a constant threat, while presenting Joe Biden in a far more positive light. So when the narrative doesn't quite line up with the facts, that's where the controversy starts. One recent example involved claims that Trump was planning extreme actions against certain groups, something that quickly sparked backlash, especially since there was no clear evidence supporting it. Critics accused Whoopi of taking his words out of context and pushing them far beyond what was actually said. Social media, as usual, jumped all over it. Some joked about how interpretations of political statements can get wildly exaggerated, while others pointed out the broader issue of misinformation and overreaction in today's media climate. All of this helps explain why tensions between Whoopi and Bill Maher keep boiling over. He's repeatedly called out what he sees as inconsistency, and their ongoing clashes have only added more fuel to the fire. At one point, the controversy even escalated enough to lead to Whoopi facing a temporary suspension from The View, showing just how heated things have become.
And finally, new rule: stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. There's a certain satisfaction in watching Whoopi Goldberg, the self-proclaimed big game hunter, get taken down by the very elephant she set out to hunt. And in this story, that elephant is Bill Maher. He's not just calling out her nonsense, he's practically dancing on top of it. And if that weren't enough, the anti-woke crowd is always ready, circling like vultures at an all-you-can-eat buffet, tearing apart every misstep. It's almost poetic. Whoopi, the moral authority she claims to be, is constantly tripping over her own contradictions, while Maher dishes out reality checks like Oprah handing out free cars. The irony: she and her View co-hosts built their careers preaching accountability for others, but when the spotlight turns to them, suddenly it's unfair or problematic. Sorry, Whoopi, you can't dish it out and then complain when it comes back around. From twisting Trump's words to blowing up cupcake controversies, and of course, clashing with Maher, her hypocrisy keeps backfiring spectacularly. Meanwhile, Maher and Shapiro keep serving reality checks, and the anti-woke crowd feasts on the fallout. Poetic justice never tasted so sweet. And that's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe for more straight-shooting commentary. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.